Could you have ADR'd Ashley saying the wrong name?
We could have had a go.
Why are you bringing that up again? Leave me alone.
Netflix's critically acclaimed series, Adolescence. This show has been called astounding by The Guardian, and my favorite, soul-shaking television by Rolling Stone. This series quickly became the third most watched English language original show on Netflix since premiering in March, with over 139 million viewers. Although I think 10 million of them were just me repeating. I'm so thrilled to welcome some of tonight's guests who made this show possible. Please join me in welcoming composers Aaron May and David Ridley. Supervising sound editor James Drake. Casting director Shaheen Beg. Actor Ashley Walters, who plays Detective Inspector Luke Gascon. Actor Aaron Doherty, who portrays Brian the Arson. We have actor Owen Cooper, who plays Jamie Miller. I'm sorry, I think we're out of time now. Also, please welcome co-creator, writer, and executive producer Jack Thorne. And co-creator, writer, executive producer, and actor, he probably also did craft services. Please welcome Stephen Graham. Terrible blocking. Thank you all so much for being here. Congratulations on a fantastic series. Whenever I have people as accomplished as any of you, I actually love to go back to the beginning and ask, what was your first job in this business? The first time you felt you could call yourself a composer, or Stephen, you do so much, so I don't know if it was writer, actor, where it all began.
Children's Ward.
Really?
I was 15.
Performing for kids?
No.
What?
Oh, you mean
It's a TV show.
One for kids? No.
It was a program at home called Children's Ward. I was 15. I set the hospital on fire.
My idea better. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was a play at the Bush Theatre called When You Cure Me.
Oh, wow. And this is unfair, but go ahead and tell us your first job in this business.
It's what, sorry, what was the question?
What was your first job in this business as an actor?
This?
Aaron, for you?
Yeah, mine was a play called Pink Mist at the Bristol Old Vic. Yeah.
Ashley?
Mine was a McDonald's advert.
All right.
Wasn't it Grange Hill? Selling a I did a McDonald's advert selling a Happy Meal that had garden seeds, and I played a hippie gardener.
Shaheen, for you?
I was a casting assistant on Tomorrow Never Dies, James Bond.
Wow.
It's quite fancy.
Yeah. James, for you?
I was the Foley editor on Midsummer Murders, which is a show that we probably will do. But, I don't know if you get it over here, but it's a bit of a cult classic in the UK. Yeah.
Aaron and David? Not that I expect you to answer as a pair, but...
Well, my very first one individually was, I think, writing music for online content about buildings being built, architectural videos. So, yeah, strong start.
I was just doing a bunch of plays at the Edinburgh Fringe. I just wrote music for plays for a number of years, just going up there every summer to try and, attract some sort of audience.
That's so cool. Well, again, congratulations on all the success of Adolescence, the huge, actually global success. I'm curious because I feel like, actually, is anyone watching this for the first time tonight? Wow, okay. I'm curious, well, now everyone has seen it. I wonder if you've been caught off guard at all by how much the show has resonated with people, and if you have any reasons why you think that is. Stephen and Jack.
Yeah, I think it blew our minds, really. It's a little colloquial drama that we made in a place called Pontefract. And, it was made with love
respect to what we were making it about, but primarily we never imagined it to have this kind of impact or for us to be sat here. Do you know what I mean? That was not our intention, was it?
We knew we were making something special. It was a beautiful summer full of beautiful people working incredibly hard together, and there was an atmosphere on that set that felt enormously powerful. But we didn't think it would translate to lots of people watching it. We thought it would translate to some people watching it and having a good time with it. But yeah, this has been a shock.
Yeah. I'm curious for the actors, was there a moment where like you felt a change? Like did you go out one day and people kept trying to hug you or something?
I think school was the first.
Really?
Well, yeah, because the first day back was a bit chaotic, like, but yeah, school was the first one where it was like, it's not even like people trying to be nice, it's just people coming up to you, that's about it. But I mean, in the town centre from where I'm from in England, it's like, they don't even like say, oh yeah, you did really well, they just shout your name. So I think that's just where I'm from, really. But
No, we do that here too. Yeah. But we shout the character name. Yeah.
Oh.
Did people at school know that you had gone off and done this series, or was it a total shock to them when you showed up one day?
Well, no. Well, my whole school knew that I was doing it. Well, because I only told a few friends, and then I walked into assembly one day. Which what's assembly called in America?
Assembly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just with no you in it.
Yeah. But yeah, I walked into assembly, and then my head of year, which I don't know what it's called in America, but anyway, my head of year, which is like the main person of my year group, so they're like the strictest, the meanest, they're the worst. But anyway, I walked in, and then they were going on about this boy is doing some amazing Netflix work, and I was like, oh my god. and then they shouted my name. I said, I just left it silent for a little bit, and then they told me to get up, and it was like, and then everyone was saying, oh, this, that, and the other, because no one knew. Only 2 friends knew that I was doing it, and this was like a week before I was going on to do it, so it was a big shock to everyone, and then how much you're getting paid, that was one of them.
Go on.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a big shock to everyone, and I don't think anyone was expecting it to be as big as it is, but yeah, the show's done well, so.
I mean, what about for the rest of you? Because you've all been a part of things that were successful, but this just feels like on another level. I don't know if you felt a shift.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but if anything, what's lovely is people actually genuinely want to come up to you and have a discussion about it. That's what's so amazing. Like, normally it is people just being like, you were great in that thing, or blah, blah, blah. But actually, the difference with this show, which I'm so grateful for, is that, like, in a weird way, people can kind of compartmentalize the fact that you were a part of it, or like you played a character. They just want to chat to you and like have that actual discussion, which is, yeah, it's so rare that you get to genuinely talk about a piece of work from that lens. But yeah, it's been incredible.
Yeah, it's created a lot of conversation. It's great. Yeah, it's great to not like be shouted at in the street anymore. So that's what I get usually, is like, Deshane! I'm like, but yeah, you really kind of getting to have, especially with other parents, right? Just having like real in-depth conversations about the internet, about dangers, about your children and stuff like that. And I feel like that's why it's resonated so much, because there's loads of parents around the world who are worried about their kids. You know, it's pretty simple. So yeah, it's really connected. We're very proud to be part of it.
Stephen, for you?
Exactly the same. You know, walking around Tesco's isn't as easy as it used to be. But it's that same thing, you know, people having conversations about their children, and I think one of the most, it's, you know, it's really kind of special when someone approaches you and just says, you know, how you have created a conversation in their house with their children. And that goes from everyone, do you know what I mean? All walks of life. And it's just, we never expected that to happen. Jack calls, you know, for years, Jack's called the television the empathy box. And we have an opportunity, a rare opportunity as actors and artists and performers in many ways, do you know what I mean? To be able to go into households and sometimes hold a mirror up to society And if we can create debate and conversation, then we've completely achieved that objective. And that's what's been the biggest gift from this: communication and conversation, which is what it's all about, which is where Eddie and his wife and the whole family go wrong with Jamie. They're not communicating with him, do you know what I mean?
There's so many reasons, I think, for the show's success, but obviously you have this phenomenal ensemble. The acting is just spectacular. But this show really wouldn't work without the perfect Jamie. And I'm curious if the two of you ever thought you might not find him when you wrote this. Yeah. Shaheen, did you ever worry you might not find him?
Yes. But that's never, and that's not an option. You have to cast it. So you just keep going.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process?
So the process, we knew the story was going to be set in the north of England, but it wasn't sort of location specific. So we chose about 5 cities in the north, and that's where we sort of directed our search. And we looked across, we did all kinds of open castings, we used social media, we did street casting, we sort of flyered loads of places, and that can be drama groups, sports clubs, schools, youth clubs, anything really where young people might be. And then we also looked within the sort of professional young actors as well, but it was a very sort of wide search, and that took quite a long time because you've got to research the areas, you've got to find out, where young people go, what they're doing. So yeah, it was. That's how we sort of approached it at the beginning.
Owen, from your perspective, I mean, were you doing plays in school or anything, or how did you find out about this?
No, I'd never go to do a play in front of my mates in school. That's just not something I'll do, but I'd probably do it now, but...
You'll still have to audition, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was... I forgot the question.
The place you go to in Manchester.
Right.
What's the name of that?
Oh, Drama Mob it's called. It was just a little drama group that I was going to.
Oh, okay.
But no, I haven't done any plays or anything like that. But it was just, it was scary doing the self-tapes and the auditions at first, but then, I met Stephen, I met the director Phil, I met Joe, I met the producer, I met everyone. So I didn't meet Jack until episode 3.
Really?
Yeah. But episode 3 we shot first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am so curious though, because obviously so much hinges on the chemistry, and not just, between the two of you, but like you and Aaron, and there's so many great pairings in this cast. Was there anything like a chemistry read with the two of you?
With me and Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a little workshop. We narrowed it down to...
It's about 5, I think, including, yeah.
Yeah, we narrowed it down to 5 in the end. 5 young lads, and each one of them are also in the piece. We did this thing where, not trying to break that convention. In our industry, normally it'd be like, okay, so we've got him, now let's look for another kid. And you'd go out and you'd look again, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But we made this decision. We thought, no, these 5 kids are all fantastic, and they all look completely different, and they're all, they've all put their heart and souls into getting to this point. We just couldn't break anyone's heart and say, no, do one.
They were brilliant. They were all brilliant. So we were lucky. We were really gifted in that one.
So then we just said to the parents and to them, look, if you don't get this role of Jamie, it's not your fault. It's nothing to do with your talent or your ability. It just means we've gone a certain way. But if you would be interested, would you like to obviously play another role? And they all said yeah. And then we had a lovely little improvisation session, didn't we?
Yeah.
But there was something that happened with respects to Owen. I just remember, and it was like, boom, one of those moments. I looked at him and I just said, look, from now on, I'm your dad and you're my son. And he just looked me dead in the eyes and he just went, okay. And it was like, boom, from that moment, that switch. I remember in the classroom, that little setup we had. And that was how it happened, basically, for us. But then, you can speak about your experience with him, which was wonderful.
Yes, we've just watched episode 3, so we've seen, this two-hander between the two of you. Had you met before that, and what was that like shooting?
No, we hadn't met before, rocking up and starting rehearsals.
Yeah, the first day of rehearsal we met first, and then we just clicked instantly. We didn't take it so serious because it's an intense, dark episode that we're filming, but on set it was like we're doing a comedy. Like everyone's lovely, everyone's dead kind. So it was different from being around the crew to being in the scene, because the scene's like they're dark and intense, which is good, which is what's the word? It helps the viewer to carry on watching, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was dead relaxed, it was dead calm on set. So yeah, me and Erin just got on well. We was rehearsing for 2 weeks, and then by shoot week we didn't even worry about the script really. It was just we just changed it up every take. So we didn't want a take to be the same, because what's the point? That's just a waste of a take. So me and Erin just wanted to change it up, have fun, and you know the freedom that the director gave us was perfect. Really, it's what any actor would want to have.
Yeah, and I'd like to speak like you're the perfect scene partner. Like you're everything that an actor dreams for. Like you're just present and you're generous, and as you say, like literally just then you wanted to play. And like some people are so rigid in their perspective on a character and a story, and they're like, no, this is the way it needs to be done. Whereas I think like you're so special in that sense that it was just a playground, and we just wanted to see what we could do with this incredible script that we were given. And if the words aren't there on the page, then you don't get that opportunity. So without you guys, we wouldn't have had that safe space to throw different things at each other. But it genuinely was just a joy. I remember like going home exhausted, but so excited to come back and see what else we could find. And that's, the mark of a great scene partner, but also an incredible script. Like it was all in there.
For Ashley, it was complex, wasn't it? Because you had your son and everything.
I was just listening to that because Erin was like going home. I just couldn't wait to come back the next day. I didn't feel like it. I was shitting myself. I was like, it was a lot. It was a lot. But it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience to, the main thing was for me, I was obsessing over the words. I was obsessing over the words. As an actor, I never really do that. But because this is like performing on stage, on camera, I was like, I need to learn it. I just need to learn it so I can be off book. But actually, it was all about your partner. It was all about the people that you're in the scene with and being present with them, forgetting the words, because I knew those. They were in my head already. And just responding to what I was seeing at the time. Finding the heart of my character, because I didn't need to worry about being a policeman. It was about being a dad, and I am a dad. I had the tools that I needed already, but it took me a minute to knuckle down to that, to drill down to it. So, but what a beautiful experience, yeah.
When you and Erin and Ashley, you've both worked with Stephen before on 1,000 Blows.
He's hard to work with. He is.
That's why we have you separated so far. But I am curious, when you initially heard the idea that everything was going to be done in one take, did that excite you or terrify you or both?
I was buzzing. I could not wait.
What's the American word for that?
I was pumped.
Okay.
I was buzzing.
Sorry, and I was really excited. Because I'm a theatre kid, so like the idea of rocking up and someone calling action and then it's yours, and you're not going to get interrupted, and you get I remember talking to you about it, like the opportunity to start a scene and to organically feel those emotions from start to finish is an actor's dream. Like it is just everything, and you can't fake it. You're forced to be a better actor, because if you fake it, you see it and you can call it. And that is what I mean by like it's all about who you're in the room with. So that was integral. But it was everything that I wanted the experience to be. Like it didn't disappoint, and it will stay with me forever.
But I feel like, Ashley, like your episodes are so physical, you're moving a lot. If something goes wrong, you can blame the cameraman or something.
There was a few moments. One particular moment, I think for me, was episode 2, wasn't it? Where it's like we got to the end. I'd done all that running at the end of the episode, caught this kid, walking back to sit in the car, and I called my son the other kid's name. And I was just like,
Oh.
And Phil was so lovely. He came up to me after. He's like, "No, it's fine. It's fine because it's like you're a bit discombobulated and And I was like, "Mate, shut up. We gotta go again." So that was tough. It was intense, kind of having to always hold that ball. And I think for you're on stage. You do a lot of stage work. So for me, that was kind of like the first time I was doing anything like that in many, many years. And I don't think I understood what I was getting into. When Steve called me and said, "You're doing this job," I was like, yeah, I can't wait to work with Phil when I'm working with Steve again. And then I got there and I was like, hold on. But like Erin said, it made me a lot better. And actually, I think that scene in episode, I don't know what episodes you guys watched.
1 and 3.
But at the end of episode 1, that scene with me and Faye and Steve and Owen in the interview room was just magical. That camera just spinning around you and like everyone just on their A game and offering you different things, and Steve looking at me and me looking at it was just beautiful, man. It's such an amazing experience. But little did I know we would be sitting in this auditorium off the back of it. It's amazing.
I actually want to ask, sure, I stepped on your applause, God forgive you. I actually want to ask Stephen and Jack, the choice to shoot it in one continuous take, it's so gripping and raw, but obviously a huge logistical challenge. And I know, you made the wonderful film Boiling Point with this director previously. What were the discussions? Did you know from the start you wanted to shoot it that way?
Yes, and I've got to say, as a writer, it was immensely hard and immensely technical, but immensely freeing, because there was a number of things that we had to decide right at the beginning, which then changed the way that you would normally write a show. Normally, you would be trying to cover all aspects of the story, but we were forced to be incomplete. We were forced to not answer every question in it. In episode 2, Ashley spends the entire time looking for this knife. In a conventional show, you would then be answering the question, what happened with the knife? We didn't do that. We could, it was 4 breaths of air. That's all it was. And 1 long exhale each time. And that was the show. And all we needed to do within that was create a compelling narrative that forced an audience to lean forward, to think about who Jamie was, and to question themselves. And we made the decision quite early on that at the end of episode 1, we were going to know he did the crime. It wasn't going to be a whodunit, it was going to be a whydunit. And this vocabulary lent itself to that we had to then spin our plates and keep our plates spinning as we were saying, who is to blame for this kid? Is it the kid's mind? Is it what the kid's consuming on the internet? Is it what the kid's learning in school? Is it what the parenting the kids had? Is it the kids' friendship groups? And we didn't, it was none of those things, because it was all of those things. And that incomplete format allowed for that sort of, those questions to remain as constant questions rather than simple answers.
I want to ask from a logistical standpoint, James, was there any sort of like choreography or blocking that went into, rigging the microphones for capturing the sound for each episode? Because I imagine this one-shot aspect really impacts the sound.
Massively, because if you think that just the logistical part of having the cameras there and the cameras moving around the actors, you can see in a few of the shots in some of the press photos, you've got 2 boom ops in those rooms as well. And Rob and Kith, the production sound mixers and their team, did an amazing job. The amount of ADR that we had to do in the show is like minimal, and yeah, kudos to them for the work that they did and the planning and the tech that went involved to achieve it is really amazing.
Could you have ADR'd Ashley saying the wrong name?
We could have had a go.
Why are you bringing that up again? Leave me alone.
I imagine you also have to, you always closely collaborate with all the departments, but in this case in particular, you must have all been in constant communication.
Yeah, I was on set for episodes 1 and 2, so I was able to, have the luxury of we'd do a take and then go, okay, we need to fix that door and those SA's shoes need to be sorted, and so we were able in real time to fix the show as we were going along, which is so rare. In episode 3, they relaid the floor before the shoot week because I was able to get the sound rushes and go, can we do anything? and the crew was so amazing that they just relaid the entire floor. So yeah, it was collaboration on all sides with all departments. It was amazing to see, and then obviously in post with
Yes, is this an ongoing conversation when the two of you get involved? And because obviously with sound and music, you want to ratchet up the tension, you want to have the music there, but you don't want it to overpower the scene. And I'm sort of curious about the conversations you had about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because so much has been done throughout each episode to really get this feeling of realism, like you're there when you're watching it. The one thing that we can't do is pierce that, and that's often as composers you're kind of commenting on the scene with your music. While a lot of the time we were playing a kind of more of a supporting role, so supporting as we move through scenes, etc. But then there actually also became a few points. So for example, with Bascombe, with Ashley's character, at the end of episode 2, where it felt that we were able to comment a bit more on some of the characters' sort of emotional states and be a bit more impressionistic as well. But a lot of that came with conversations with Phil and with James. So kind of where are points where abstract isn't the right word, but where we get a bit more impressionistic with what we're doing and where we kind of get inside characters' heads. But simultaneously, in doing that, you're obviously somewhat piercing realism, but you don't want it to be clear as you're watching. You don't want that to be felt. You just want that to happen quite naturally and fluidly. So that came with a lot of conversation with James and Phil and each other.
One of the moments to pick that up. One of the moments where that happens is episode 4, where we go to the hardware store, and then it's kind of you go inside of. I remember the conversation about that. You go into Eddie's head for a little bit, because as everything just becomes slightly discombobulated. But that's where that was where that technique really comes into its own, doesn't it? And with the paint and everything and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you just want to I guess you want to give the audience a bit of a breather and give them a different state. You want to kind of allow something magical to happen when you do feel like you're inside someone's head. And when you've got performances as good as your performances, you're not doing that much, but you can read so much into the sort of minutiae of what's going on in someone's face. It's an absolute gift for us because we can just sort of like expand on that. So that's the Wainwright scene where Eddie, your character Stephen, is like walking towards the camera, and you just get that sort of throbbing sort of sense that he's kind of reaching his boiling point. And
that pun intended. Sorry.
But yeah, there's that which kind of weirdly links actually in its tempo, in its rhythm to the scene where Jamie's in the van in episode 1, where you've got that ticking clock that's sort of like relentless and kind of takes you through and just doesn't stop, and I think it helps to get inside. It's one of several things, but it kind of helps you get inside the characters' heads, which is what we're trying to do, whilst also not pierce the believability and the sort of immediacy of the one shot. Yeah.
Shaheen, in addition to the wonderful actors we had here, you had to fill out this ensemble with so many amazing, talented actors, some faces that are a little familiar and some who are, brand new. What were you sort of looking for during the casting process?
I think as much truth as possible. I think that because it was shot in an unusual way, the cast needed to be this really tight ensemble of actors, and I think everybody in front and behind the camera sort of had to approach this in the same way. And I think just in working with Phil on the casting, we just really wanted that, and also actors that were, it's a very unusual way of working, so and you're live all the time, and not everybody likes that. Not all actors like to work like that, so that's something we had to try and figure out when we were doing the auditions. And then it was sort of like they're sort of often very present even if they're not speaking, so everybody was important as the next person. And actually we saw so many young people across all the young cast. A lot of those people then also became sort of part of episode 2 with the school, so a lot of those young people ended up getting roles in that episode as well. So it was really about sort of finding a troupe of actors that would all complement each other, but essentially it was to play everything as truthful as possible.
What was the most challenging role to cast? I mean, probably aside from Jamie, I'm going to guess.
I mean, really, it was Jamie.
Yeah.
I think because through the process of casting Jamie, as Stephen was saying, we saw brilliant people that we then were able to put into other roles. Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the most difficult because it was such an ask for a young person to be able to do that. I mean, you're never off camera, so that's that gave us the most sleepless nights, I think.
Speaking of sleepless nights, this show obviously deals with some heavy subject matter and themes, and you said that it could be very fun on set. But I'm curious for the actors, do you sort of have a way to take care of yourself? Are you the kind of actors that take your work home with you, or are you able to let it go at the end of the day?
I had a child psychologist on set, and I had a chaperone that was chaperone, and he was my tutor as well. So, and we got on really well. And I brought him on to a comedy that I did in December.
You did a comedy after this?
Yeah.
Oh, God bless.
Because I got on with him that well, and you know, if I had some guy that or a woman that I didn't get on with, and you know, I felt uncomfortable, I wouldn't have enjoyed it, because and I'd always be playing swing ball with him. Never had Steve in a game. I think he was backing away from me a little bit. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it scared of me, but anyway. But yeah, it was. I forgot the question again.
Just if you were able to take care of yourself.
Well, yeah, I was perfectly fine by the end of the day. The last take we did was the one before we went home, so I was perfectly fine. As soon as they called cut, I don't know, Jamie just didn't stay with me. It was weird, because when Stephen talks about Eddie, like, Eddie takes a bit of time to get, like, away from you, as you said in other interviews, but I don't know, it's weird, because he just, Jamie isn't me. Jamie's completely far from me. He's, like, nowhere near my actual, like, personality, or I hope so anyway. But yeah, he's far from me, so it was easy to get into it, because I had Erin in episode 3. It was easy to get into it because I was speaking and bouncing off Erin, so, and especially in episode 1 with Stephen and Ashley, and all the cast, was so helpful, so I could easily get into Jamie, but getting out of Jamie, it wasn't even thought of, really. As soon as they called cut, I was perfectly fine. I'd just go upstairs, play swing ball, and then I'd get back into tutoring. So yeah.
But it was not that easy for you?
It was and it wasn't, you know what I mean, in many aspects, because we had a lot of things to do, but that kind of, at the end of, look, we had a lot of support, and it was a kind of job where there was no egos on set, and I mean that, completely, and that's a rarity, I think, sometimes in our industry. But it was a set where every person was integral, and as Shaheen's just indicated, you know what I mean, behind the camera and in front of the camera, we were all one big group, and there was a lot of support from everyone, all of it. Look, if you see a big Bailey spark in tears, you've smashed it. Do you know what I mean? That was kind of the atmosphere we created, didn't we? Where everybody was integral, each piece of the jigsaw was integral, because without each person, you wouldn't have that kind of, that beautiful quality that we managed to find. As a collective, it was very much an ensemble. It is an ensemble. It's very much like a footy team. Do you know what I mean? Each person has their job and serves their duty completely. But we spent so much. There was so much fun. We had such a great time on set, and it was such a, there was so much camaraderie, and we'd see. It was just great. You make each other cups of tea. We had biscuits and all that, didn't we? And it was just really lovely. It was a wonderful atmosphere. It wasn't like, you put it beautifully today. What did you say about the summer holiday?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting you to come to me then. I think I said, well, there were like genuinely ice creams between takes, because there wasn't the same Normally on a film set, you're spending the entire time saying, have we made the day? Have we made the day? We've overdone this scene, we've got to get quicker to this scene, we've got to do that, and we've got to get that close up. Here, really, you're shooting for 2 hours a day, and the rest of the time you're preparing for those shots. And so everyone is given time to step away, to spend time with each other, to hang out, and then you're back in, and then you're going again. So actually there was a sort of almost holiday atmosphere as we were giving Ashley a breakdown. But there was a sort of it was lovely.
How many, for example, episode 3, how many times did you shoot that? And did it stretch out over days?
I think we chose take 11, but I think we did more than 11, wasn't it?
No, that was our last take. Yeah.
The last take.
Not the last take.
The way it was set up, we were supposed to, as Jack just said, we were supposed to do a take in the morning, everyone like decompress, get the set ready again, and do a take in the afternoon. So if you look at it logistically, we had 1 week to shoot, and we should have come away with at least 10 takes, and then we would choose which one would be the best. But that's not how it always works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was it 11 usable takes, or?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They were all amazing.
Yeah.
They were all amazing, and they're all completely different. That these two were riffing in all sorts of different ways off each other, and still within this, doing the script. But do you know what I mean? Just finding different colours within the script each time. It was sensational.
And with all due respect for episode 2,
It was like 14.
it was the final take.
Yeah.
Was it
the final
really?
take,
Yeah, take 14.
Yeah, it was take 14, yeah. I mean, we had it was 14 because there was a few false starts.
Yeah.
Not because I got it wrong every time.
I just want to make that it was phenomenal. But also logistically with take 14, that one time in that final take was the only time the drone took off in the air and came down properly, because that decision was only this again goes about, that's the ensemble nature of the whole kind of the project, to be completely honest, because it was Toby who came up with the decision from Netflix to say, can we see Jamie at the end of the episode? Can we see Eddie at the end of the episode to make that connection again? So that was where we had to. Phil and Matt scrambled about, and Matt was like, well, what, you want me to throw the drone up and go? And he'd be like, yeah. You could normally do that in an edit.
Rather than just what we had before was that the drone took off.
Yeah.
And now we had to land the drone and have Matt, our DOP, be there to catch it, and then take it off the drone and then take it into Stephen's face
to show where the girl was,
So it technically incredibly difficult and incredibly complicated, and we had bad wind on the last days.
And that's why, Ash, it was the final take, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a great take
Yeah.
as well.
See?
And also, it was a massive task for that episode.
Yeah, she, go on.
The logistics of that episode, not just technically, but also it was you had the biggest crowd. And for that.
I wrote in a fire drill that it required us to have 300 extras.
Well, again, it's such a fantastic show. Please join us for a reception outside, and thank you for being a great audience. All episodes are streaming now on Netflix. Thank you so much for being